Before I begin the speech, I would just like to let you know that I procrastinated on completing the speech. Alright, now let's get on to the speech. So, procrastination is the act of delaying an action or task that you need to complete for a later time, even though it would be better for you to do it now. According to James Surowiecki's article Later, dealing with procrastination, published October 2010, procrastination is an example of akrasia. That is a Greek term that means acting against your better judgment. So why do we procrastinate? Well, there are many different theories, or maybe there are many different factors to why we procrastinate. But there was this one study done that Nazima Pathan mentioned in her article, Procrastination is Pretty Much All in the Mind, published August 2018. And that study looked at the brain of procrastinators, and it found that the amygdala, which processes emotions and motivations, was bigger than other people's. And then they also looked at the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex, which, or DACC, which is the part of the brain that processes the information from the amygdala, and it filters out conflicting emotions. And the study found that the connection between those two parts of the brain is weaker in those who procrastinate. Another reason is that you might be a perfectionist. You might be looking at the task, and you might have a vision of completing the task in the most absolutely perfect way possible, but the prospect of doing that is just so daunting that you just keep putting it off. So another reason you might procrastinate, as mentioned by James Surowiecki, is ignorance. Well, why ignorance? Well, you might be ignorant. Okay, well, you probably already knew that, but you might be ignorant about how your actions may end up. Like, you might be just thinking about the short term, and you might not really know any better. So another reason that Surowiecki mentions is that you might actually not be one person. You might be more than one person. Well, maybe you're not more than one person, but you have multiple people inside of you arguing about what you should do. So one part of you is only thinking about the short term, and that person wants to just waste time and procrastinate, whereas the other person is thinking about the long term, and they want to finish that project that you were supposed to do. And one last thing that Caroline Webb, in her article How to Beat Procrastination, published July 29th, 2016, mentions is that is this phenomenon called present bias, where your brain it's harder to understand abstract things and easier to understand concrete ones. So the long-term benefits of doing your project might be an abstract concept, and your brain is probably thinking more about the short-term actions, which are more concrete. So what are some ways to deal with procrastination? Well, you can use external factors. So an example of that is, as mentioned by Surowiecki, he mentioned that some gamblers, they signed a contract with the casino in order to ban them from the casino so that they wouldn't go there anymore. So no matter whether they wanted to go there, they imposed that consequence on themselves, so even if they change their mind later, they won't be able to. So you can basically do that procrastination mind. Another thing that he says is, well, if you're completing a task, you can make a bet with someone that you'll complete it after a certain time, so you'll lose money if you don't complete it. Another way is to strengthen the will. So Mark D. White talks about strengthening the will. And as Dr. Caroline Schluter mentions, your brain is, you can change your brain, so you can strengthen it. So that's one way. And another thing you can do is to divide your tasks into multiple segments. Because as Surowiecki explains, if you shorten the gap between your actions now and your long-term consequences, then it will be a lot easier. And the last thing mentioned by Caroline Webb was to, what she mentioned was that you should try to make the long-term benefits bigger and try to make the short-term actions smaller. So to make the long-term benefits bigger, try to visualize the end result. And another thing is to pre-commit publicly, so that you'll be held socially accountable, and you'll have another motivation to finish. And you'll see that at the end result is that you will be held you're in good social standing, I guess. And then to make the short-term actions smaller, she mentions trying to figure out what your first step is, I guess, and dividing your tasks into smaller segments seems like that would fit into that category as well. So anyway, I hope this speech helped you with your procrastination issues, if you have them. And I hope that I will not procrastinate on my next speech. Thanks for watching. Bye.